the title of this talk. It's not, I'm not saying yeah, it's the title of this talk. What am I thinking? The deep effect of thought in bhakti yoga practice. So, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Thank you once again for inviting me to this very progressive forum of advanced devotees. It is an honor to be in your presence and for this opportunity to read together. So today we are on the verse, which is 10:66:23 of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Evam matsarinam hatva paundrakam sasakham hari dvarakam avishat siddhair giyamana kathamrita. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Having thus killed envious Paundraka and his ally, Lord Krishna returned to Dwaraka. As he entered the city, the Siddhas of heaven chanted his immortal nectarian glories. We'll go to the next verse. Sanityam Bhagavad Dhyana Pradvastakhila Bandhana Bibranascha Hare Rajan Swarupam Tanmayo Bhavat. By constantly meditating upon the Supreme Lord, Paundraka shattered all his material bonds. Indeed, by imitating Lord Krishna's appearance, O King, he ultimately became Krishna conscious. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada writes, is a purport by the followers of Srila Prabhupada, and they're quoting Srila Prabhupada. So, Srila Prabhupada writes as follows in Krishna, that's the Krishna book. As far as Paundraka was concerned, somehow or other, he always thought of Vasudev by falsely dressing himself in imitation of the Lord. Therefore, Paundraka achieved Sarupya, one of the 5 kinds of liberation, and was thus promoted to the Vaikuntha planets, where the devotees have the same bodily features as Vishnu, with 4 hands holding the 4 symbols. Factually, his meditation was concentrated on the Vishnu form. But because he thought himself Lord Vishnu, he was offensive. After being killed by Krishna, however, that offense was also mitigated. Thus, he was given Sarupya liberation, and he attained the same form as the Lord. Prabhupada. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkest of ignorance. My spiritual master opened my darkened eyes with the torchlight of transcendental knowledge. I offer my obeisances unto him. I further offer my obeisances unto all of you, assembled Vaishnavas, and seek your kind blessings and permission that we may recite the Srimad Bhagavatam in your association. So we see in this verse, it's about Paundraka thinking of Krishna, remembering Krishna, meditating on Krishna with his mind. It has a deep impact on our mind. This mind-body connection, what the mind does, it's not separate. There's very little doubt that our physical well-being is tightly, very closely tied to our mental and emotional state. Doctors tell us to exercise and eat properly, but also, when we exercise, they tell us it'll help you reduce your mental stress, tell you to cultivate a positive mindset. This positive mindset, reduce anxiety. These are all healthy situations that impact the quality of our life. The mind, our thoughts, our memories, our remembrances, they have an impact. I remember when I was growing up, just outside our house, there was a street vendor who used to sell these raw mangoes. And it's just about to get ripe. They're sliced and they're dipped in this mixture of salt and chili powder. And at least once a week, I used to go out and buy one. It was so tangy and tasty. Now, even today, when I think about it, my mouth waters. It's a Pavlovian reflex. It is directly connected, the thought, what our mind is going through. Now, I'm separated by thousands of miles and 40 years since I last did this. But still, that thought, that memory has an actual, perceivable, impactful physical effect. When we think about someone we really love and we miss their association, our hearts, they skip a beat. Our mind is responsible for a lot, and what we think of, how we think. It shapes our future. It shapes our feelings right now. Thoughts, they can take us upwards. When we think of Krishna, we move upwards toward him. But they can also very quickly take us down a dangerous spiral. This famous verse, Dhyayato Vishaya Pumsam Sangaste Shupajayate. A very famous verse in Bhagavad Gita, 2nd chapter. Right? Krishna talks about this chain reaction. The first misstep in this slippery slope is thinking or contemplating the objects of the senses. Dhyayato Vishaya Pumsam. Dhyayan means you focus on it with your mind. And what does it lead to? You develop attachment, and lust develops, and anger rises, and so on. You lose your memory, you get bewildered, and we fall down into just a pool of misery. But because we're so conditioned into thinking that the objects of our senses are the only means to achieve happiness, we keep stepping down this slippery slope and again. But the first step or the first misstep is the thought, the contemplation, the meditation. That's where it gets started. How many times does Krishna ask Arjuna to engage his mind in thinking of him? So many places. Man mana bhava mad bhakta. In fact, this verse, this line, man mana bhava mad bhakta, it appears twice in the Bhagavad Gita, almost identically. Right? It says, always think of me. Man mana bhava mad bhakta. It's like the ultimate conclusion. This is 1865. It's towards the end of the Bhagavad Gita where he's concluding. Always think of me, become my devotee, worship me, offer your homage unto me. Thus you'll become, you'll come to me without fail. And I promise you this because you're my dear friend. So thinking of Krishna, remembering Krishna, it is not one of the practices. It is really the main practice in a sense. Including the chanting process, it engages, we don't want to be thinking of anything else. We're thinking of Krishna. In fact, all the various do's and don'ts in our scriptures, right? Our scriptures are full of regulations and rules. Rules means you must do this. Regulation means you must avoid these. There are only 2 rules and regulations that are the master rules, the master points of rule and regulation, do's and don'ts. Everything else is a servant of these 2 rules. What are those? Smartavya, Smartavya means remember. Smartavya satatam Vishnu. Vismartavyo na jatuchit. Sarve vidhi nishedhasyur etayoreva kinkara. Always remember Krishna, never forget him. All rules and prohibitions mentioned in the Shastras should be the servants of these two principles. Etayor eva kinkara. Kinkara means servants. Sanskrit is nice. You can see the meaning of the word kinkara. King means what, and kara means do. What shall I do? That's the name of a servant. Servant is always asking, what shall I do? How can I serve you? So all the other rules and regulations are kinkara of these two. Remember Krishna. So if you end up remembering Krishna, that means you're basically following all the other rules. And if you avoid forgetting Krishna, then you're following all the regulations, all the other avoidances. If we can do that consistently, then we know we are on the right track. We have reached the point of following everything. You want to think of Krishna. Now, it's not always easy to think of Krishna. We get distracted. Our mental wires get crossed, thinking of this and that and so on. Now, I Googled this phrase, think of Krishna. I got this image. Anybody know who this person is? I'm sure some of you probably know him. This is the CEO of IBM. You must know IBM Corporation, big company. His name is Arvind Krishna. Think of Krishna, Arvind shows up. So many IBM employees and also others who follow him, they're thinking of Krishna. They're getting some partial credit because they're thinking of that name and they're saying it so many times. Arvind Krishna. Arvind is the name of Krishna. It's beautiful. Arvind means lotus. The lotus Krishna. One of Krishna's name is Arvindaksha. So like that, So, of course, we want to think of the Supreme Lord Krishna. We do get partial credit for thinking of Arvind Krishna, especially Krishna. Do you speak to Krishna? No. Well, what did Krishna tell you today? What is the announcement? Did you read the memo from Krishna? Think of Krishna. The same way, like, is Paundraka. Now, Paundraka was actually thinking of original Krishna. So if we think of the original Krishna, now he was thinking in an antagonistic way, just like Kansa was very Krishna conscious in the sense. He couldn't even sleep because Krishna was constantly on his mind. But that's antagonistic. But we want to think of Krishna in a positive, loving way. And we want to think of the Supreme Lord, Sri Krishna. Now, how is it possible for us to think of Krishna during our regular days when we're not directly and actively engaged in kirtan or japa meditation? Actually, how can we think of him even while doing japa? That's another challenge too. That's hard. What to speak of the rest of the day? So one way is to ensure that our reading, our hearing, our kirtan, our japa meditation sessions are spiritually vibrant, they're enlivening, they're fulfilling. Now, these are simple things. There are some simple methods that we can all try to incorporate in our daily practice of japa to gradually get better, in this area. Applying our mind, applying our heart, sitting properly, so many things we can get better and better to make it more fulfilling. Now, another way is to create more opportunities where we collect good Krishna conscious memories. Like when we go on vacation, for example, we want to make memories, to say, create good memories, take pictures, we bring back trinkets, and sometimes we bring back snacks that we can't get in our country and so on. And then we watch the video clips and the photographs again and again, share them with others. And then when we're feeling down, we can think of those fun times and feel, at least our vacation was fun. I mean, this year kind of is lame, but this vacation was nice. I'm just sitting in my miserable cubicle at work, but the snorkeling with the dolphins was so nice. This is the power of thought. It can uplift us. But if we think of Krishna and our own uplifting Krishna conscious experiences, it is far more beneficial for the immediate term and for the long term. If you think of a dolphin vacation at the time of death, you can miss the whole purpose of life. Purpose of life. Purpose. Okay. Anyway, how can Krishna consciousness give us a better quality of life, a higher standard of living? By giving us a higher standard of thinking. This is the power of thought. Simple living, high thinking. It's a quality of life. It makes us happy. Simple living, high thinking. Not thinking of getting high, but high thinking. A Krishna conscious lifestyle is healthy. We eat vegetarian food, there's prasadam of, and then we exercise in our kirtans, jump up and down and you're dancing. We regulate our daily schedule by waking up early. We fast twice a month. This was proven a few years ago by these Japanese Nobel Prize winning scientists. If you fast twice a month, it reduces your chances of getting cancer or something like that. So a Krishna conscious lifestyle is mentally uplifting. We have so many festivals. Before you know it, there's another one. The term for festival is utsav. Utsav. Sav means depression, sadness. Utsav means it raises you above it, like uttama. Tama means darkness. Uttama means something that raises you above darkness. So utsava. So we have so many utsavas, so many festivals. They're colorful, they're lively, they're fun for the whole family. And before any long-term sadness has a chance to set in, bam, another utsav. And it's there on the calendar coming right up. We have Janmashtami coming up. We have Rath Yatras happening. And then after Janmashtami, you just kind of recover from, Janmashtami and Prabhupada's appearance. And then before you know it, it's time for, Govardhan Puja and so on. So we have all this culture that keeps us from falling into the sadness. It keeps us happy. We have an engaging philosophy that keeps our brains and minds active and sharp. If we read and discuss Prabhupada's books regularly, we'll develop sharp logic. So our thinking process remains strong and positive. Right? So coming back to today's verse, by constantly meditating upon the Supreme Lord, Paundraka shattered all his material bonds. Indeed, by imitating Lord Krishna's appearance, O king, he ultimately became Krishna conscious. So coming back to the question, how can we constantly think of Krishna? How can we know him? In what forms should we remember him? Now, someone else asked these same exact questions many years ago. His name was Arjuna. And he says, this is the 10th chapter. He says, "O Krishna, O Supreme Mystic, how shall I constantly think of you? Keshu keshu cha bhaveshu. How shall I know you? In what various forms are you to be remembered, O Supreme Personality of Godhead?" Because at that point, he was already convinced he should be remembering Krishna. The how, he's saying, how should I do it? How can I keep connected with you? And then Krishna says, so many ways, wherever you look, wherever you think about, whatever captures your imagination, there are ways in which you can connect with me and think of me. And he gives some very prominent example. He says, I am the self, O Gurakesha. Means I'm the supreme self, Paramatma, seated in the hearts of all creatures. I am the beginning, the middle, and the end of all beings. Of the Adityas, I am Vishnu. I am the radiant sun, the moon, the Samaved, the Indra. Of the senses, I am the mind. And in living beings, I am the living force. And in bodies of water, I am the ocean. Of sacrifices, I am this chanting of japa. He says, little circle, it has Mahamantra, that's the japa. That's of the yagyas, he's japa. And I'm the Himalayas, and I'm the great Narada Muni. And of weapons, I'm the thunderbolt. Of the celestial Nagas, I am Ananta Shesha. Among subduers, I am time. I am the lion, I am Garuda, I am the wind, I am Rama, I am the Ganges, I am the all-devouring death. I'm the generator of all things yet to be. Of seasons, I'm the flower-bearing spring. I'm also the gambling of cheats, and of the splendid, I am their splendor. I am victory, adventure, the strength of the strong. Among Pandavas, I am Arjuna. That's you. I'm you. Of all the sages, I'm Vyasa. I am the rod of chastisement, and of those who seek victory, I am morality. Of secret things, I'm silence. Of the wise, I'm wisdom. I'm the generating seed of all existences. There's no being, moving or unmoving, that can exist without me. There's no end to my divine manifestations. What I've spoken to you is but a mere indication of my infinite opulences. Know that all beautiful, glorious, and mighty creations spring from but a spark of my splendor. But what need is there, Arjuna, for all this detailed knowledge? With a single fragment of myself, I pervade and support this entire universe. It's a beautiful 10th chapter section. So how can I apply these thoughtful meditations in my modern urban life? In my routine talks with my co-workers in the office, the name of Narad Muni or the celestial snake Ananta, or even the Ganges in the Himalayas, they don't usually come up. But what does come up in our conversations or in our thoughts, typically ends up in our thoughts, what we talk about and what we think about, it ends up in our imagination, is what we see around us. Strong athletes will be breaking records this year at the Olympics. And we can think of Krishna saying, remembering, I am the strength of the strong. That's how we can remember. We can appreciate Krishna's presence there. Scientists will make life-changing breakthroughs. There'll be Nobel Prizes given out this year. And then we can think their intelligence and inspirations come from Krishna. Krishna says, of the intelligent, I am the intelligence. Or people will be cheated by the millions by some casino mogul. And we can think of the various ways of cheating. I am gambling. Even that power comes from Krishna, and so on. We know that when we taste water, that's the taste of water is Krishna. The Prabhupada was so liberal. In one of his lectures, he says, drinking water like this, this is the taste of Krishna. But he says, even how can you be Krishna conscious if you're addicted to wine? Even wine, any liquid thing. If the wine drinker, with every sip, says, this taste is Krishna, he will make progress. And at some point, he'll give up his wine. So Krishna's thought, his consciousness, his presence in our hearts, in the actual projection screen of our consciousness, is what's transformative. That's what we're seeking. That'll make us happy. It's the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, and our thought, our engagement of the mind is a key component of that. Yes, if we can train ourselves to see the world through the eyes of Shastra, we can turn every inescapable mundane thought into direct appreciation of the Lord's amazing potencies. And it's all about leveraging our position. Leveraging meaning making the best use of a bad bargain, making the best of a tough situation. And when Krishna is in our thoughts, our consciousness, then we won't even care for liberation. Varam deva moksham na moksha vadimva. It's the famous line from Damodarashtakam. It says, O Lord, although you are able to give all kinds of benedictions, I do not pray to you for liberation, nor eternal life in Vaikuntha, nor any other boon. My only prayer is that your childhood pastimes may constantly appear in my mind. Oh Lord, I do not even want to know your feature of Paramatma. I simply wish that your childhood pastimes may ever be manifested, enacted in my heart. So sweet is the actual consciousness of Krishna that simply remembering him alleviates our pains. Simply thinking of him, constantly meditating on him. And Krishna himself in the Bhagavad Gita gives us hints and clues that even while we are struggling, the inevitable challenges of our life, they come and go. We can leverage that situation. And sometimes the more intense the situation, the more intense will be our thought of Krishna. If we have been training for it, if we are practicing it. There's a nice Hindi saying, दुख में सुमिरन सब करें, सुख में करे ना कोई, जो सुख में सुमिरन करे तो दुख काहे को होए. It means that when one is in misery, people remember God all the time. But when things are nice and comfortable, then people don't remember God. But those people, those fortunate devotees who think of Krishna even when things are nice and they're happy, there's no question of unhappiness. Then nothing can make that person unhappy. So we practice when things are good, and we realize, and more practice, that it'll always be good. It's all good. There's no bad. When you have absolute Krishna consciousness, in the absolute world, there's no negative numbers. It's all positive, it's all good. That's why it's the absolute truth. It's not relative to our so-called miseries and dualities of this world. This is known as thinking of Krishna. So we have to ask ourselves, what am I thinking today? Thank you very much for this opportunity. We'll pause here. It's 7:45. And we can open up for comments and questions. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Great class, Madana. Thank you. Temple Room has their hand up. Go ahead, Adi. Purusha Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Saptar Obeisance, is so wonderful to hear from you. It's really delightful. Even the tone of your voice, and you just pour out this wonderful wisdom. Your spiritual masters empowering you. We've been dancing around this subject. Even yesterday, there were a lot of afterthoughts in the afterglow about how do you really chant in the best way? How do you become absorbed? And we recall hearing in Prabhupada's memories, the Prabhupada, somebody who saw Prabhupada at Advaita Acharya's house. You know that story? He saw this elderly sannyasi sitting in the back, and he was weeping while he was chanting. You know that? You heard that? And he went and he said, "Oh, Prabhu, what's going on? Why?" And he said, "Well," Srila Prabhupada said, "My guru asked me to go to the West and present Krishna consciousness to the English-speaking people. And it's such a formidable task. And I can't forget that he asked me to do that. And I must go. And I'm just desiring to please him. And so it brings out this, emotional upheaval as I'm chanting, Hare Krishna, Hare. So yesterday people were talking about chant slowly and meditate on the holy name. And today we're hearing about all these different ways that we can appreciate Krishna's greatness, and they're all valid. And then in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Vasudeva Bhagavati, once you understand how great is Krishna, then devotional service. So Prabhupada took the instruction of his spiritual master into his heart, and the relationship with the guru and the prescribed duty given by the guru intensifies not just thinking of Krishna, but wanting to please Krishna and serve Krishna with everything we've got. And therefore, when we have an instruction from guru, By the grace of the spiritual master, one gets the grace of Krishna, right? We sing that every day. The lotus feet of the spiritual master is the only way to obtain pure devotional service. So they asked, Bhuta Bhavana Prabhu asked Prabhupada, Prabhupada, do we have to specifically ask for pure devotional service? And Prabhupada did yes. Not just devotional service, but pure devotional service. Something you want to really give your whole heart to, without ceasing, you know? And so we're trying to remember not just to nibble around the edges, but actually to get to the point of accepting spiritual master and asking, what do you want me to do? And of course, Krishna says, no one is more dear to me than one who preaches this message. So then right after that question, do we have to specifically ask for pure devotional service? Then one devotee said, Prabhupada, we see you want us to be Krishna conscious. And Prabhupada said, no. You heard this before, right? I'm not asking you to be Krishna conscious. The Babaji sitting on the bank of Radhakund chanting Hare Krishna day and night, he's being Krishna conscious. But I'm asking you to give Krishna consciousness, not just to be Krishna conscious. If you want to be my disciple, chant 16 rounds and then vigorously preach. So we have this spectrum of activity. We have the point of hearing and developing faith and beginning in devotional service, but somehow or other, in the relationship with Guru, in the relationship with our instruction that we've received, we have the opportunity to go very deeply into devotional service. Because like you said, Krishna is so wonderful that even Kamsa, who was hating Krishna, and this devotee who was imitating Krishna, and even Kubja, who wanted to enjoy Krishna, they will become benefited and uplifted. But we're advised and instructed pure devotional service, ahaitukya pratiyasa, unceasing, unmotivated devotional service to Krishna is the only way to satisfy the self. I'm talking too long. Anyway, over to Shul Prabhupada. Thank you so much for your class.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for those nectarian references. Lovely story. Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Dear devotees, let's do it. Go ahead, unmute yourself, ask questions, or reflect. There's so much churned today. Ganesha.
Hare Krishna. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Can you hear me?
Yeah, it's a little bit muffled though, but I can kind of make out what you're saying.
Okay, I'll try to speak a little louder. Thank you for class. I have a question on when in the from the 10th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, the verses you were reciting on the qualities of Krishna and how we can remember him. That of those who seek victory and morality. Can you speak a little bit more about how we should think about that?
Yes, it's that's a good question. This is so in the 10th chapter, right? There's a section which talks. This is when Arjuna asks, "How can I think of you?" And so this is like maybe 25th verse or something like that. Then among that, Krishna mentioned some of these. Now let me see. Can you repeat the particular one that you're asking about?
Of those who seek victory, I am morality.
Yes. That's a good one. Because in the same section where Krishna says that of those who are of cheats, I'm gambling. Of the cheating things, I'm gambling. So the point to take from that particular one, it sounds like a negative thing. It's to show that that's a very powerful component of cheating. It's like the most powerful way to cheat somebody is to entice them to do something gambling. Even Yudhishthira Maharaj is, who was so smart and so deep, he ruined everything because he fell into the whole gambling trap. So now on the flip side is, if you want a thorough victory, right, then there's a Sanskrit saying that's quoted a lot in India. It says, Satyameva Jayate, that truth and morality always wins, or may the truth win. So if you're on the side of morality, then victory may not be immediate. It could be, but it is inevitable. See, when you're on the right side, the truth eventually comes out. You'll be vindicated, and the victory is inevitable. Satyameva jayate. This concept of morality being inevitably victorious is also found in the very last verse of the Bhagavad Gita, where Sanjaya is speaking. He speaks the last verse of the Bhagavad Gita. And he says, Yatra Yogeshwara Krishna, Yatra Partha Dhanurdhara, Tatra Shrir Vijayo Bhutir, Dhruva Nitir Matir Mama. That wherever there is Krishna, the Supreme Lord, wherever there's Arjuna, the great archer, there will always be victory and morality. Morality and victory, they go hand in hand, because the truth always wins eventually. Sometimes we may feel defeated when we're side of truth, but the ultimate victory will always be there. And if we stay on the side of dharma, the side of our moral dharma, what we're supposed to do, and we stick rigidly to what we're supposed to do and avoid things that we're not supposed to do, then that dharma itself will protect us. Dharmo rakshati rakshitaha. One who protects dharma, dharma protects that person, you see. So if we protect our own morality, our own dharma, the truth, knowing the truth, then that will protect us too. So you can take it from that message. Hare Krishna. Great question.
Nice. And Madana Gopala Prabhu, when we want to please Krishna, but our project doesn't turn out victorious for whatever reason, is it because there was lack of faith in Krishna? Or maybe there was lack of reciprocation on Krishna's part? Or maybe there was some other factors? How do we process those things?
Yes, very good question. There are many ways to look at this. Usually these questions are not simple, straightforward answers. But we can rest assured that nothing happens without Krishna's sanction, that we know. So if we have a particular vision for a project, which is designed, which we have conceived of, and we're executing it purely for the sake of pleasing Krishna, it could be something like building a temple for his glorification, and we work really hard, we raise a lot of funds, and we have the best brochures and this and that, but it doesn't happen. And it's not for lack of trying. We tried really, really hard. And sometimes things are beyond our control. Like we can even have secured all the funds. We have even bought the land. We have the architectural drawings, but we don't get the permission from the town to build there. It's just, they don't never allow this. It's never happening. Don't worry. They say, don't bother. It's not going to happen. So then it's like, it feels like a failure. But if we look at Prabhupada's life and Prabhupada's instructions to when devotees asked him these questions, he said, it's okay, we tried your best. If it wasn't meant to be, it didn't happen, but we keep trying. There is no loss, because it's the effort, the intentionality that counts, and the purity of your thought, the purpose, the sincerity of your purpose is what matters. And then sometimes what happens, that particular project you may think it failed, but it opened up other opportunities where your next version of your temple will be so much bigger, better, or better in so many other ways that you couldn't have envisioned. So Krishna saved us from our plans. Sometimes we see that too. He saved me from this particular thing that I thought would be really good for my Krishna consciousness, but I would not have been able to do this next thing, which is way, way better, And so when we reflect back, we thank Krishna. And so if you're going to reflect back and thank Krishna 5 years down the line, if we are prescient and wise enough, we can thank him immediately upon the so-called failure of that project. Thank you, my Lord. I'm going to thank you eventually anyways. Let me thank you now. Thank you. I don't see why this failed or why I should even consider it a failure. But I know that what I'm doing, like what I'm trying to serve you, that is not wrong. That is not wrong. You know, I may have made mistakes, and maybe maybe I approach it foolishly, and some lessons to be learned, and then we apply those lessons in the next step. And that is a lesson from me as well. That happens too. You know, so it's not that we always come up with the smartest, most optimum and efficient way of doing everything. We learn a lot that way too. So there's different ways of looking at it. I mean, Thomas Edison, I think I spoke this last time. Thomas Edison, you know, he had 2,000 failures before he invented the light bulb. And he said, no, I didn't fail. It's just that light bulb invention is a 2,000 step process. So you can look at it that way. You know, there's no real failure. So, like I said, you can leverage every situation to increase your Krishna consciousness, including what we can consider miserable failures, because it's absolute. There's no real failure in any attempt to be Krishna conscious. Yeah.
Thank you, Madana Gopala Prabhu. Wonderful answer / reminder that there is no question of failing. Jamuna Jaya says, if you do what is right, what is best will happen. Her Guru Dev always says, when the best happens is not up to us, but to Krishna.
But Krishna, yes.
Great.
Thank you, Jamuna Jaya.
Why is Jamuna Jaya hiding? What are you hiding, Jamuna Jaya? Your smile.
See, Gauranga Leela has yes.
Well, when we are working or at school, how do we think of Krishna at that time? Like when we are like busy and doing like work or something, how do we like think about Krishna?
Okay, so we'll take a little break and come back to that after the conch blows. How about that? Okay.
Okay.
All right. Hare Krishna.
Okay, dear devotees, cameras on. If Jeffrey Eckler is here, please stand up.
Yeah.
Jai Shri Shri Radha Muladhar, Shri Gaur Chandra, Ki Jai.
Radha Murida Gaur Chandra Sri Bhagavan ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki.
Welcome to the Afterglow, everybody. Okay, back to the question. Krishna in public school. How to draw the
Okay.
line.
Yes, so Gauranga Lila asked a nice question. When you're at work or in school, how do you remember Krishna all the time? Gauranga Lila, are you in school right now? Yes. What
Yes.
level are you in? What level are you studying at?
I'm going to 7th grade.
In 7th grade. Okay. So that's wonderful you're asking this question because not so many 7th graders ask this question. So you're already a rarity. Very few 7th graders will ask how to remember Krishna all the time. So all of us, in the heart of hearts, in our pure original state, we have what is technically known as a crush on Krishna. What that means, you may be familiar with the term. To have a crush on someone is you can't get them out of your mind. You just adore them so much. And when they come nearby, you want to like hide and kind of you feel shy because we're so attracted to that person. It's a very intense feeling. And it's so joyous, and it's filled with so many flavors of emotions that we can't escape but think of the person that we have a crush on. So if I have a crush on someone, the question is not how can I remember that person when I'm in school. The question is how do I forget that person? I can't get him out of my mind. That's a good problem to have. So what we want to do is to kind of uncover that love that's already there in our heart. And when that love gets uncovered, then you don't need to worry about how do I think of that person. Then what you need to worry about is how do I prevent other people from finding out that I have a crush on that person? That's what it is. You see, so how do I pretend that I'm not really in love? And you pretend by being a better student. You pretend by doing much better. And you will do better. You'll get better grades. You'll focus on everything. But in your heart of hearts, you're thinking of that person that you love. Doesn't mean you'll fail. You actually get better at it because sometimes we do really good when you try to pretend. If you try to pretend to be a great student, you'll be amazed at how good your grades will become. So, but at the same time, there's an undercurrent of love. So then okay, but I don't have that feeling of love right now for Krishna. What am I supposed to do? That's where the process of the Krishna conscious practices come in, because the process of chanting Hare Krishna deeply in the morning uncovers that crush, uncovers the love we have for Krishna. Kind of like, there's a brass pot. You might have seen some brass and copper pots that you get. And if they get covered over, they're sitting around, they get turned blackish. But if you take a little bit of polish and just like, really buff it out, you can see your face in it. It's just brilliant. So it's not that brilliance you're adding to it. You didn't paint it on. You uncovered the brilliance that's there by just putting a little bit of polish, So similarly, this mirror of our consciousness, we're just polishing it so that the brilliance comes out, the brilliance of our loving feeling to Krishna. And that loving feeling gets translated into loving for everybody else. And people will be very much impressed by your sense of connectedness. They won't even know what's special about Gauranga Leela. Like, what? There's something special about that girl. Why? Because you have uncovered the brilliance that's natural in your soul. The process of chanting sincerely, doing it with the right intentionality, doing it regularly, waking up early, and so on. So many things that help us. We can't help but stop, but start loving Krishna. And then we think of Krishna between things, like between classes or between chapters. Or sometimes, even as students, we kind of space out, daydream. What do we daydream about? We daydream about things that we like to think about. So if we have cultivated a practice of uncovering our love for Krishna, then that's what we'll end up doing between things, between classes, on the way to school, on the way back, and even in school. I used to tell my friends that, oh, my parents, do you like school? I said, yeah, I like going to school. I like coming back. It's the part in between I don't like, So, but anyway, that's just a silly joke. But you can have that. You can have that if we're just developing affection. So if we practice it, we'll get it. I hope that helps, Gauranga Leela. It's a great question. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Thank
All
you.
right.
Stephanie.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Stephanie.
So me being very, very new to this in this life of Krishna conscious, you said to always remember Krishna with his pastimes. But I mean, you were answering a lot of my questions actually, as I heard you speak with other devotees, and but not being able to comprehend or understand the pastimes that great right now, it's a really big challenge in where I'm at, because I want to know so bad and I want to be able to understand. But I was listening to one of your Bhagavad Gita classes, and a devotee asked, she said, how do Americans understand this? It's just so complex. So that kind of made me feel good, like, okay, this is hard to understand. Like, I'm not just the only one here. So yeah, that's my question, is is there a certain prayer that I could ask Krishna to, because I know that he could do it, all the obstacles so far that he's helped me to overcome with just a little bit of knowledge that I have and a little bit of practice. So I know it is possible. So anything would help. Thank you. Great class. Thank you.
No, thank you. It's a great question, Stephanie. How do we understand Krishna's pastimes? Like, I can't really follow why he's doing what he's doing, what is happening. How is it supposed to uplift me? How am I supposed to fathom the intricacies and the intrigue of a particular interaction and so on? Yes, the Lord works in mysterious ways. We've heard that. It is hard to understand. In fact, if we could understand, he would not be the Lord. If it doesn't blow your mind, he's not God. So in many ways, he is inconceivable. He's achintya. Achintya means inconceivable. We can't comprehend everything through this teeny brain that we have. Some religious philosophies even say that it's not possible to understand God at all. It's not understand God doesn't even have a name, or God has a name, but we can't even utter his name. So there are certain philosophies and thought process schools like that. And it's true, we cannot understand God at all. But you answered your own question when you said that but can I pray to the Lord that he allows me to understand? And that's the key. It's not possible for us to understand him on our own strength, but we can't say that it's impossible for God to make us understand, because then you're limiting God. See? So we have the full access of the complete power of the Lord by praying to the Lord and humbly requesting, my Lord, if you think it's good for me, please help me understand. Please help me, if not understand, at least help me thoroughly appreciate. Help me fall in love with your pastimes, and if understanding it is a part of it, then help me understand. And if not understanding is a part of it, that's also good. But help me love it. Help me love this whole book of work, this whole leelas that has been given to me. And there's so many leelas that we don't have access to. So what do you think is best, my Lord? Please give me. All I pray is that, like that picture I showed, that all I pray is that your image, your thoughts saturate my consciousness, and in a way that you want me to be, in love with you. So if the prayer is that, then the Lord will give us the understanding by which we can come to him. If to answer your question, you can look at chapter 10, chapter we covered today, of Bhagavad Gita, verse number 10. If you go to 10:10, right? 10:10 is easy one to remember, where Krishna says, Tesham satata yuktana bhajatam priti purvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayantite. He gives the key. He says, to these people, to these devotees who are constantly attached to me and serving me with love. So constantly, satata, connected with me, yuktanam, bhajatam priti purvakam, serving with affection, continuous affection. To them, dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayantite. To them I give the understanding by which they can come to me. So you may not understand his pastimes. I may not understand his pastimes. But what we can do is do what he's asking us to do, which is serving him with continuity, the continuous affection. And he will then give us the understanding. There's another important verse in the Nectar of Devotion. Atah Shri Krishna Namadi na bhaved grahyam indri sevan mukhehi jivadau swayam eva spuratyada. Therefore, it is not possible, Shri Krishna Namadi, to understand Krishna's names, his qualities, his form, his times, by this blunt sense. It is not possible. Na bhaved grahyam indriye. It is just not possible. However, seva unmukhehi jivado. However, if we are absorbed in seva, in service of him, starting with the tongue, chanting his name, taste his prasadam, and so on. Sevan mukhehi jivado, the tongue, etc. Then swayam eva spuratyada. Then by themselves they'll become manifest by the mercy of the Lord. See, so the key is not to intellectualize ourselves into a pretzel, but to serve the Lord. You don't become, like do mental gymnastics and twist yourself. Just serve the Lord with affection and continue reading, continue hearing, and things will start clicking. That's called realization. So you're doing the process perfectly well. You're regularly chanting. You're attending this class so regularly, and the Lord will certainly reward you with an abundance of realizations. There's no question about it. Great question. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. What was that instance in Chaitanya Charitamrita where Lord Chaitanya asked this other devotee, I think it was Ramananda Roy, to explain Krishna consciousness, and this devotee was coming from a different, I believe, lineage or something, and he started to explain, but it was very unclear and clouded. And Lord Chaitanya was silent for a while. What was that? Who was he talking to? Ramananda Roy? He was silent he didn't answer for, I think, a week. And then the devotee said, Lord Chaitanya, why aren't you answering? Why aren't you saying anything? And Lord Chaitanya said, oh, your explanation, I mean, the Shastra is perfect. It's great. Leelas are great, but
Prakashananda Saraswati.
Prakashananda Saraswati, yeah. But your explanations are ridiculous. So it's important to listen from the right source, like Madan Gopal Prabhu, because Leelas are very elevated subjects. But when you hear from the right source, like Madan Gopal Prabhu, then you feel like a 5-year-old and everything is clear. And then, of course, we walk away from class and then we may forget. At least that's what happens to me. That's how Krishna keeps everything fresh for me. I understand the Leela when it's being presented clearly, nicely to me by devotees like Madan Gopal Prabhu. As soon as I walk away, I forget, and then I come back, and then it's ever. And even a devotee like Madan Gopal Prabhu, every time he opens the Bhagavatam, there's something new for him, because there's no state in bhakti where you kind of, I got it now. I know all the Leelas, all the aspects. It's all clear to me. There's no such thing. It's always something new, something. It's always increasing and going deeper, right, Madan Gopal? Is that how you feel when you open?
There's no end. Yeah, wonderful point, bro. There's no end to. In fact, even the first expansion of the Lord, who is Balaram, who comes in the form of Sheshanag. Sheshanag has his 1,000 hoods, and he's with each of his mouths. He's reciting this glorious pastime of the Lord, and there's no end to those pastimes. Therefore, one of the names is Ananta Shesh. Ananta means no end, endless. So even he cannot even begin to cover, even scratch the surface of the unlimited glories of the Lord. So we cannot understand, but we can pray for enough understanding to love him. So yes.
Nice.
Thank
Enough understanding
you.
to love Krishna. Wonderful. Cool. Bhima Prabhu.
Well,
all right. Bhima Radi.
Yeah, fantastic answer. And a wonderful question. What happens if you don't understand the pastimes? One thing I heard Srila Prabhupada say one time was, just like the sunshine, you may not understand photosynthesis or how the dermatologist explains how the sun gives you a suntan. But if you just sit in the sun, you'll get a suntan. Just expose yourself to the pastimes and let them purify, let them work by themselves. And Gauranga Leela asked a super, super good question too about what am I going to do in high school, and why are we there? Prahlad went there to school, but he was giving Krishna consciousness to his classmates. Now, you may not start a lecture when the teacher's out of the room, but you could bring some cookies, prasadam. You could bring flowers, give everybody a flower, the flowers that are offered to Krishna. If you give them prasadam, it's offered to Krishna with love, and they look at that flower, they taste that cookie, they will benefit. So by some means or another, even like fragrance, they have these, what do you call that stuff? The essential oils. You take an essential oil, you offer it to Krishna and rub it on your nose or somewhere. When you pass by and they breathe, they're taking prasadam, right? So give Krishna consciousness in class. Don't just sit there and try to avoid the contamination, but we must take the forward motion. Anyway, that's what Prabhupada told us. Ogar Srila Prabhupada, sorry to talk so long.
Thank you, Adipur. Gauranga Leela also wrote, it was very cute. I used to be a Pundraka. How I used to dress up like Krishna too. It's very nice. There's nothing like it, especially do a drama for Krishna and you're playing one of the actors. It actually is amazing way of serving the Lord, amazing way of also reflecting how would have Krishna acted, and you get so close to Krishna by doing a drama like that, or even just pretending, even just dress up and just doing it like a costume kind of thing. It's very powerful. Prabhupada encouraged it. It's a good way of doing it. Bhima Prabhu's hand has been up for a while. Bhima Prabhu, Hare Krishna. We eagerly await your words.
Haribol Prabhu. Am I breaking up or deep in the forest of illusions? There's usually not good reception.
No. Don't break up with me though. We're together forever.
Yes, I have a crush on. I have a crush on your classes. I really do. You speak of it so lovingly. It reminds me of that series, The Love Boat. If you simply get on the boat, you'll find love. you know. So I did want to say, in context to what Garanga Leela said, and was it Susan who was it that asked to understanding the pastimes?
Stephanie.
Okay, Stephanie. So those two go hand in hand, because if you take the time to and it's on the internet. Bhakti Vinod Thakur breaks down at least the killing of the demons when Krishna is young. So, as a Westerner, we're not brought up with these tales, these stories. So we don't really know how to work them into our lives. But Bhakti Vinod breaks them down. When Krishna does something, he does it on innumerable levels. Not only did it happen, not only was it fun for him, not only were the devotees present, the bhaktas present, enjoy themselves and feel protected from Krishna, but also there's an object lesson in them. Just a case in point, is it Bakasura, the crane demon? Which is the one with the beak?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bakasura. Okay, so Bhakti Vinod Thakur says that the crane demon was bifurcated. That means Krishna grabbed the upper beak and the lower beak and separated them. So Bhakti Vinod says this is the result of duplicity. Okay, so you are reaching out to Krishna, but you have other motives. So what Krishna will do is bifurcate the bad motive and keep the good motive. Or Putana, who comes as a mother, and one of the mothers we have is the Vedas, or the truths that we get through Shastra. She comes as a guru, and am I okay? Can I be heard?
Yes, please continue.
Okay. But even though she comes as a mother and offers the milk of her, the essence of her being in the form of mother's milk, it's poisoned. So this is in reference to false guru or false teaching. So it presents itself as the beautiful teachings of Krishna, but there's some poison there. And what Krishna does to that, as we have seen in all cases like Pundraka, is that he takes the life right out of those false teachings. Of course, we come to understand that we don't just say that this is mythology, as Prabhupada said, or symbolic, but it is symbolic. And in regards to Gauranga Leela, if we just simply remember, at least this is what works for me, is that we may not understand Krishna, but if we pay attention closely, Krishna makes himself understood. So we find that when we are sincerely trying to approach Krishna, that he will chasten us. He will chastise us, and he will chasten us. And you'll see him do it either through the devotees or through something that happens to us. That's how I learn. I never learned by being told the truth. I learned by doing opposite of the truth and then getting a beat down and then realizing I shouldn't do that anymore. So anyways, as far as always thinking of how is it that we always think of Krishna, and that is his pastimes are always present in our lives, that what we do, he's always present. And number two, that Krishna's pastimes have many meanings that are applicable to our very day-to-day existence. Also, I just wanted to say one other thing. As someone who in high school or in junior high had a crush on a young girl, I could not take my mind off her. I'd always think, oh, what am I going to wear today? How am I going to play baseball? I was on the junior high baseball team. I know she's there, blah, blah, blah. It was always on my mind. This way, it always reminds me that I actually have no feelings for Krishna, because I in no way, even just a young person's crush, I don't have those feelings towards Krishna. I'm not always thinking, what is Krishna thinking about me? Is Krishna paying attention to me? So we will know when we are thinking of Krishna when you know, when we just can't stop thinking of Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Anyway, wonderful. Thank you so much, Bhima Prabhu. Anyone else have any comments to share? Yes, Prabhu, go ahead. You know?
Hari? Oh, he already spoke. Das, you wanted to say something? How do you learn that?
I just, you know,
You're muted, Bruce.
oh, I just, piggybacking on what Bhima who said is that I can remember also that same intoxication. I lived I lived 7 miles out of town and in the country and had a half-mile lane in high school. And I would had a high school sweetheart, so I'd walk all the way down that lane and then another whole mile into the only payphone and call my girlfriend, and we talk about nothing for an hour, you know. And so yeah, I just pray that I can somehow. And I like how Bhima reminded me that that's such a great standard to think, gee, if I'm not there, then I got a long way to go. So I'm just very glad to be here in the Association of the Devotees. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
I hear you.
Anand Bihari Prabhu, are you saying something?
Oh, I must.
I'm sure it's
Yeah, I was muted. Hold it. What I was saying was that, thank you, Das. We love you. That's what I was saying. And then Garangalila messaged me privately. She says, what is it, that project that has failed? I want to help you. So see, she's a devotee. Garangalila, I asked that question because, of course, my projects are failing. We can talk outside the class. But I asked that question because of this inner skepticism that I have for Krishna. Krishna, if I try to serve you, if I really try and invest everything I have in your service, will you be there for me? Will you do your part? That's the anartha root, this skepticism that is eating me from within. And then that's why I asked that question. I wanted to be encouraged by a good devotee.
It's a good question. It's a good question. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, you're entitled to perform your prescribed duty, but you're not entitled to the fruits of the action. Right? Never consider yourself the cause of the results of your activities, and never be attached to not doing your duty. So when you have a duty, we're attached to the endeavor, not the result. Because the real thing we're trying to do is please Krishna. And Krishna sees you're trying, so he's pleased. It may look like it's a disaster. Maybe people will laugh at you or criticize you, but if you're trying to please Krishna, he's pleased.
Yeah, but there's no license for me to be stupid. And I know I am. And there's this skepticism. If I'm being stupid, trying to serve Krishna, is it any good? No. That's the skepticism.
You're going directly to Krishna, no guru, no authority. Interesting.
Well, this is an interesting angle. Do I have a license to be stupid in the name of, say, enthusiasm? Right. So, right. Utsaha. Utsaha is the first word, right? But generally, if we take enthusiasm by itself, we associate it with some degree of stupidity, because you're just doing it, because you're just so excited, and you put aside at least some of your intelligence. But if you look at the purport to that verse, Nectar of Instruction, Prabhupada defines enthusiasm as endeavor combined with intelligence. He defines it that way. Endeavor combined with intelligence, meaning an energetic and excited approach to something is fine, it's good, but do not leave your intelligence back home. Apply the full intelligence. Then is genuine enthusiasm. You don't be lazy about studying the right things, applying it with full understanding of scripture, applying with full understanding of common sense. Prabhupada said, if you don't have common sense, ask somebody who does. Get guidance. So that's a very important aspect of it. Now, a lot of the time you're talking about projects, you're talking about results, but a lot of the times we don't understand the very basic point that Adi Purush Prabhu was also making. Don't be attached to the fruits. Now, the reward of our work is not the thing that we get from the work, but what we become, how the work transforms us. What we are different by the end of it, not whether it succeeded in giving the particular fruit. So even that's why Krishna says, don't be attached to the fruit. The work is what's going to transform you.
What about pleasing
When you
Krishna?
go to the gym and you lift those weights, you don't take those weights home, but you go home with big muscles. The reward is what you become. We don't belong here. This body is not even ours. This project, this everything is not ours, but it has a transformative effect. We're in a correctional facility. The correction aspect is the result. Hare Krishna.
Wow, that's a big one. Thank you, Madam.
You have answered my question.
Sorry, say that again, Gauranga Leela.
You have answered my question.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad I could help.
Well, yeah, we live to be corrected. We live in the correctional facility. But the good news is that our roommates are devotees. And there's always Prashadam Kirtan class going on. So that's a good news.
Gauranga Leela has a follow-up comment.
Okay,
go ahead.
It's nice. It's nice how Krishna answers your questions through other devotees, even though you cannot answer it. You cannot ask it.
Yeah, you just have to be listening. It's true. You may not ask the question, but sometimes you hear the answer to the question that you didn't think you had. So Hare Krishna.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Madam Gopal Prabhu. Wonderful class, wonderful Q&A, wonderful insights. Thank you for sharing your realization and expertise in bhakti and your example also. Thank you. Thank you.
Krishna. Thank you to all of you. Thank you, Anand Bihari Prabhu, Adi Purush Prabhu, and all the assembled Vaishnavas. I'm always seeking your association. Looking forward to seeing you again soon. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Thanks, Magic.
Yeah, Hare Krishna. Have a wonderful day, everybody. Hare Bol.